Hey everybody, welcome back to the SOLIDWORKS Electrical Implementation video series. This video, we're going to talk about our report configurations. Now, most times, you're probably not going to touch any of the report capabilities until you're just about done with your schematics. But it's good to know what's there before you start. So maybe as you're building your schematic, you can understand what information you need to have in your schematic to generate the report properly. So under your projects tab, we can see that there is a report icon. Now there's two different types of reporting capabilities per se. There's reports and there's also design rule checks. In reality, they both do about the same thing. The difference is that reports will be something like your bill of materials, your to from wire list, any other custom reports in that manner. Your design rule checks will look at specific information in your schematic and create a report to give you information such as maybe there's too many pins, too many wires going into one pin, or maybe you have used a 16 gauge wire in and put that onto a connection point that requires you to have a 24 gauge. So it's going to give you certain information like that. Fill duct ratio is another one. But in order to edit those reports, you have two different ways to get there. You can go through what we've already seen a number of times. We have under the configurations dropdown, there is report. And inside of here is all the different configurations for all the different types of reports that are essentially defaulted in the software. Now I do in my case here, because I use the software a lot, I have 2 or 3 custom ones in here, but for the most part, all of these are default when you first open up the software. Now, I do recommend in this case here that if you're going to, and a lot of people do, is again, just like I said with the terminal strip configuration, find that report and duplicate it so that way you're not messing with the original. You always have something to revert back to. You can also bring it into the project, which is what I personally like to do. So you can edit the reports here or here. You can also come in and edit the report at this level here when you jump into the actual report manager for this project. So again, the ones that are in the project, the ones in green, are going to show up here by default. I can always come in and add new ones as needed. Those are all of course, the brown ones are the ones that are at the application level, and now I'm going to pull them into the project. But just like we saw with terminal strip drawings, just like we saw with the connector, the dynamic connector configuration, we have a configuration for each one of these different types of reports. Now, every report has its own specific configuration based on the type of information that you are looking to pull. So in the case of this particular report, it's a very basic bill of materials. Again, I can give it a new name. Maybe instead of bill of materials based off manufacturer, maybe it's a bill of materials based off of location, or bill of materials based off of vendor. So you can really start to clean these up and get some really valuable information out of this. The styles, I'm going to expand this a little bit. So the styles refer to all the information that is going to be generated in the report, the title for each section, as well as the titles for each column. And then the columns, what information do you want to capture? So very basic one here, I have the reference, the mark, description, quantity, manufacturer, but there's a lot of different fields that I can add to this as well. So you can see here, these are just the ones that are a part of this particular SQL query, which is essentially what this is, right? This type of report. So if I needed to and I wanted to have the book information in here, or if there's the component mark or whatever, right? I can add any one of these and I can add that and it will add a new column to this as well. Now, this does get a lot deeper. I'm not going to cover expert mode customization of your reports, but it does get a lot deeper. You have the ability, you can see at the bottom left of the screen right now is that there's activate expert mode, which allows you to go in and start to edit the actual query for this report or any report. It does get a little bit more in depth, but again, I would refer to the official training through your local value-added reseller to find out more information about expert mode. The next column you have is the layout, and how do you want that report to appear on your sheet? Where do you want it to appear? Do you want breaks in this as well? So you can also set up the report to display in a specific spot. So maybe for your report, you have a vertical sheet. So that means you would need to come in and define these dimensions a little bit better to place the report automatically. So when the report is generated, it will automatically fall into this appropriate place. Then you can also go in and filter your information. In this case here, because this is a bill of materials based off manufacturer, I'm going to have a break based off each manufacturer. So if I'm buying a whole bunch of parts from a whole bunch of Amphenol parts, all of those are going to fall in this first section. If the next one is going to be Fisher connectors, then it's going to all fall under this section. But I don't necessarily have to have that. It's all going to give me one long report as needed. Filters, you can set filters for certain information. If there's certain pieces of equipment that you don't necessarily want to include inside of your report, then you can filter out for those specific types of information. And again, if there's certain formulas that you want to include based off of the naming convention for this particular file, you can add it here. I find that most people do not edit the file data, especially when they first start utilizing the software. The few things that they are concerned with are the columns and the information they are trying to capture, as well as the layout and where it falls on the sheet itself. Now, one thing I will note about reports, this is a question that I get a lot about reports, is that when I generate a report, which is essentially this button right here, I have the ability to generate those. It's going to generate those reports and it's going to add them to my project. They are individual sheets that are going to be added to your project. That you cannot have this report added to the schematic automatically. However, if I decide to generate the reports and then open that report, I can copy that table out and then paste it into my schematic. There's a lot of people who have a very small schematic and they want to just show the bill of materials right there on the same sheet. The one thing I will say is that that is now a static image of that report. It is not going to update. So just be aware of that if you try to include a report on the actual schematic. So with that said, that was a very general overview of what reports are. Again, if you want to dive deeper into that, please take a look and contact your local value-added reseller. They have a lot more resources when it comes to setting up those reports and really creating some really valuable reports. I have many examples of bill of materials where, perfect example is the company that I work with has two different bill of materials. One is for the logistics team who needs to order everything. And then one bill of materials is for the folks on the shop floor where they don't necessarily need to know what vendor you bought everything from. So with just a click of the mouse, you can generate essentially almost the same report, but one has certain information, one doesn't. So it just goes to show it, and it's all generated automatically based off of everything you have in your schematic. So I'll say it again, garbage in, garbage out. The more information you put into your schematic, the better your reports are going to be on the back end. So I hope this helps. Just get a general understanding of what report configurations are. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.